I'd like to bring this meeting to order with a brief prayer of thanks to our Savior. Our Batman, who art in Gotham, cowled be thy mane. Now, y'all know Kev Smith's a big old fat man, but did you know his favorite hero is Batman, the Dark Knight who punches dirty turkeys in the face? That's right, Cape Crusader. Punch all those turkeys. Punch them in their turkey necks. So once a week now, this no-fly list fatty's gonna put the food down and get chatty about Batty, and this turkey gets wordy about Gotham like it's a real place. He ain't got time for his wife or daughter. This Catwoman's losing, Batman ain't caught her. Go get her, Cape Crusader. You want a pussy hunt now? Ha ha! Get ready, turkeys. We gon' bat shit. Babbling about the bat with old Kevin Smith. Now here's the fat man who loves Batman himself, Fat Kev Smith. Get on out here, turkey. The Fat Man on Batman, I'm Kevin Smith. If you've been listening to this show, you know that I like Batman. It's right there in the title. We don't bury the lead. I'm obviously a fan. If you know anything about me beyond this show, as equally a big a fan as I am of Batman, right next to it in the pantheon of things that I adore, Canada sits right beside Batman. All things Canada. I'm a Canada-phile, have been for many years. Always felt perhaps I'd been born there, but I wasn't. It was Jersey. But Jersey is kind of the Canada of America. I digress. In a world where you love Batman and you love Canada, today's show couldn't be any better, because this is where Canada represents as part of the Batman mythos. Batgirl is a character that was kind of created in 1961 as was it Kathy Kane or whatever. It was introduced initially as Batgirl, later on turned her into a Batwoman. And that was because in 1967, during the Batman TV show, what I call the Adam West Batman TV show, what Mark Hamill called the Bill Dozier Batman TV show, probably he's more correct on that one, ratings were starting to sag in season 3. So the producers say, we want to add a little sizzle. We want to add a girl. We want a woman in the show. It's 2 dudes living together. They got Anne Harriet as the only sex appeal. Let's add a chick, a chick. It doesn't have to be every episode, but let's throw a chick into the mix. So together with DC Comics, with Julia Schwartz, the creators of the Batman TV show came up with a new version of a Batgirl. It included a new backstory for this character, and she was introduced in an issue that was like the $1 million debut of Batgirl or something like that. But really, it kind of stemmed from the show. Now, years later, I'm a kid, 1975 forward. I used to love to watch the Batman show on a little black and white TV with rabbit ears every day after school. That's where my love for Batman came from. During the opening credits of that show, I'm watching them all in syndicated reruns. During the opening credits of that show, the most excited you would get, it was an animated opening, biff, pow, bam. You saw the Rogues Gallery hidden in a group shot of thugs that Batman and Robin were kicking ass on. But toward the end, if it was going to be a Batgirl episode, there was the shot of the Batmobile in the Gotham skyline, and then they would roll Batgirl's motorcycle across, and you would get excited. You wouldn't even know why. Like I was at 8, 9 years old, 7, 8, from 5 to 9, I would say, overly enthusiastic about the appearance of a character who was just basically chick Batman, and I guess that was just like, oh my God, it's a girl. And she's cute. I hadn't gone through puberty yet. Thank God, because every opening credit sequence, I would have been waiting in a different way. Box of tissues at the ready, just like hoping mom don't come in because maybe Batgirl's on this one. So as a kid, Batgirl always fascinated me. And I guess if you have to think about portrayals of Batgirl across pop culture history or outside of the comics per se, Yvonne Craig definitely leaps to mind. She was the first Batgirl. That's who played Batgirl and Barbara Gordon in the Bill Dozier / Adam West TV show. If you want to point to Alicia Silverstone in the Batman and Robin movie, you can, I guess, but she didn't wear the cowl, which always disappointed me. So I don't know if that really counts. That leaves one person with the most screen time left with Barbara Gordon, who's defined the role probably, and Batgirl, and given us the most Batgirl we've ever had, probably going on a decade at least, if not more by this point. And my point, She's Canadian. Batgirl is Canadian. The voice of Batgirl hails right from T-Dot itself. Ladies and gentlemen, Tara Strong. Give it up. I told you it'd be a long intro.
I'm just amazed by your memory.
And I'm stoned too. So that's it's always impressive when I can remember. But that's the important shit. You remember important things.
No, you remember everything.
No, I only remember important things. Like you asked me my kid's birthday, I have to sit there and go, well, mine is August 2nd. I have to go through a list. But you tell me like, when was Batgirl created? I'm like, 1967, man. The Batman TV show and Julia Schwartz teamed up. I get like Wikipedia on shit that,
I think you are Wikipedia.
No, Satapedia. noting all this shit that I know. How are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Do you think that's a fair assessment? And you'll never make that assessment yourself, but think about it. Who else has played Batgirl nearly as much as you, hence define the role?
Well, I mean, I would definitely defer to your knowledge of the character, but I think you're right.
Right? Take the credit where credit's due. I mean, at one point, was Melissa Gilbert?
Yes.
Did it on when? Was it first season or something?
I'm not sure. It was before me, and then I moved here.
Only once?
Yeah. I moved here in 94. Actually, my second week was the big earthquake.
Out here?
Yes.
The one, the Northridge or whatever it was? Really?
And my mom was like, come home. And
yeah, she's like, we don't have those here in Canada. Come home. Timbits and no earthquakes. You're like, no, Mom, I got to make it, eh? How quickly did you lose your accent?
Well, I started in animation when I was 13, and they used to cross out about and house and sorry on our scripts so that we wouldn't say about and house and sorry. And they would put A-B-A-L-T, so we'd say about. And sorry,
so they spell it out almost phonetically or something?
Yeah, so I kind of...
Were you insulted as a young Canadian? Like, you sons of bitches.
I was like, F yeah, I get to be on an American cartoon.
You're like, I'll sell out on my culture and my pronunciation, man, for some of the American airtime. Yeah. They didn't make you do any Canadian content in those shows.
No, they were all American production. In fact, I didn't even hear, because I grew up in that world, I didn't even hear the accent so much until I moved here. And then I went back home, and I was watching the news, and suddenly it's like Fargo on TV. It's like this crazy accent. I'm like, oh, did I ever sound like that? Or when I talk to my friends and everything's on an upward lilt.
And you laugh. That's it. The secret to the Canadian accent is everything is almost quizzical. You're puzzled by everything. Yeah. It's a nice day, eh? You're like, you're not sure, It's just like, oh, I lost my mother, eh? And you're like, wait, did you? It's
more like they're so polite that, is it okay if I say this?
Yeah, it's like, I hate to bug you. I'm on fire, eh? Where you're just like, I guess they are. Look, you're bugging me, Canadian. All right, so wait a sec. So take me way to fuck back. You're born in Canada, in Toronto?
Yes.
Now, what part of Toronto? Because I know a bit of Toronto.
Oh, you do?
Well, I could take you to the Oakville suburbs if you want. You know people in Oakville?
Not that much.
Look, I'm more Canadian than you, motherfucker.
Okay, Jewville.
Okay.
Bathurst and Wilson.
You just ousted. You bested me. I could never bust the term Jewville.
I can.
Right on.
So Bathurst and Wilson is sort of North York area.
Okay.
So I grew up there. And I knew when I was 5 years old that I wanted to be an actress and a singer. I used to just do little plays in front of my class. And then,
when you grew up flat out Jewish? Like raised Jewish?
Flat Jew, yeah.
Flat Jew.
And then I grew... Boob Jew.
They came later on.
Boob Jew.
They'd be like, there's that boobed Jew we hear so much about. But did you go to is there what boys do to bar mitzvah? You did the bat mitzvah?
I didn't do the Batgirl mitzvah just because that's more.
How did I miss that? Oh my God, I'm so ashamed.
That's more like a newer idea. And my parents were very traditionalist. Like my mom was from Russia, her family was from Russia and Romania. And it wasn't such a thing to do a bat mitzvah.
Right.
But I did go to Hebrew school and I was fluent by the first grade because, most VO people have great ears.
Can you do it?
כן, אני מדברת עברית עכשיו, אבל עכשיו שכחתי לדבר שלי.
We'll talk about your husband, man, who is just the luckiest man in the world. Because all the voices you could do, plus you could do other languages as well.
Yeah.
And your Batgirl. Did you ever have to do that?
Well, I did only because
you sing,
I grew up
right?
singing, so I was in the synagogue. My grandfather was a cantor.
Okay.
And I used to sing once a month at the synagogue I grew up in. I was the little soloist. And
really? So they're like, and now, ladies and gentlemen,
yeah.
Tara was Charon.
Yeah, Charondoff.
Charondoff was the original. Well, Tara, and would they all be like, oh, she's good?
Yeah, people were like, there's the girl with the trained voice, even though I wasn't as a little girl. But yeah, and I used to bust that crap out in the middle of this huge, beautiful synagogue that I grew up in. And then
which synagogue in Toronto?
Adif Israel.
It's still there, of course.
It's still there. It's a beautiful. In fact, it's been hard for me here to find a place because it was so beautiful and had so much history for me there. Here, I'm like, it's not my place.
Well,
like
they're all kind of new out here. All right, so you would sing.
Yeah.
How long does that take? 5-10 minutes? Like,
oh no, it's a synagogue, honey.
yeah. So like, hey,
long.
there's a little girl. Let's move on. We have some important Moses things to pass on to people.
It was long.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So what's long?
I mean, the service was a few hours.
So how long do you get to sing?
I mean, the children's choir would go up for about 45 minutes, and then I'd come out for a couple solos. Or if there wasn't a children's choir, sometimes I would just go out with the cantor and the rabbi and do some stuff, which I loved to do. I really did.
Are you into the faith, or are you into? I just like being in front of people because I was an altar boy.
Oh, you were?
I was in Catholic when I was in Catholic school, and all through all my childhood. Man, I was pretty much an altar boy until I was like 18.
Is that funny?
Yeah. I would still do it now today because I love an audience. That was the only reason. Like I think I was into it. I was, I mean, I was raised in the belief, so I believed it then. But more than that, I like getting up Sunday morning because I'm like, I want to be on a stage, bitch.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm here up on the bima, as they call it in the synagogue.
What is the bima?
Performing for everyone.
Is that the altar?
Bima is the stage.
Stage.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had that feeling. Was it more?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, my first real job was at the Yiddish theater, and I didn't speak Yiddish. I learned it phonetically. And they used to call me the Wundermädlach, and after the show, all the old boobies would come back and go, I have no idea what you're saying, but thank you.
So wait, so you knew your lines and that was it. It would be like going to Spain, doing a Spanish play, and you're doing that part, and then after the play, they bust you some Spanish. You're like, I could do the lines from the play.
Yeah.
How many years you do this?
So that was in the 7th grade. I was 13. I did that for about a year and a half. And then I did a real play at the Toronto's Limelight Dinner Theatre, which I think is no longer there. But my first professional play was The Music Man.
What constitutes a real play?
It wasn't Yiddish.
It was broken millions of Yiddish hearts.
No, I mean, they paid. There you go.
There it
Yiddish
is. All
theater
right.
didn't pay.
Okay. So who did you play in Music Man?
Gracie Shin.
Oh, right on. So do you sing and dance to Shapoopy in that number?
I did. It's the Shapoopy.
Right on.
Yeah, I have a good memory of Shapoopy. I fell on my butt once during the Shapoopy. And then that same year, I booked my first on-camera show, which was TNT with Mr. T.
What is that?
It was a series where he was like a detective.
And they shot it in Toronto?
Yeah.
So you were a person. You were on camera. Because you, like, we're talking about voice work, but you've been acting. You do everything. Mm-hmm. So at this point, you're standing next to a real life Mr. T?
Yeah.
How old are you?
13.
What was that like?
It was, first of all,
please tell me it was an erotic awakening of a young Jewish girl in the heart of Toronto with a TV icon.
You know how it is if it's in you.
Yes.
You're just so happy to be on set and so excited. And Mr. T was so hilarious. Like, the first time he saw me, like, I was dressed very Punky Brewster. She was like this little high school reporter or whatever it was. And he said, well, ain't you something else? That was like the first thing he said to me. And then he'd call everyone, Mr. Director, Mr. Lighting Guy, Mr. Whatever. And someone would say, Mr. T, the director's name is Todd. He's like, I know that. And then he came over to me and was like, I don't know anybody's name, so I just say Mr. and a job. So he was funny, and that was really fun. And then I booked my first cartoon, which was Hello Kitty.
So that was off. So off of that, or did you? And did somebody say, "Hey, man, you got a voice for cartoons"?
No, I didn't even know cartoons was a career. It was just.
Did you watch them growing up?
Oh yeah.
But you're just like, they must come from a magic place.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, when I was a little kid, I loved the Flintstones. I loved Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. Did you ever
Wait
get
till
that?
your father
I loved that show.
Wait till your father gets. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jetsons. But I didn't know it was a career per se.
Okay.
And then I had an audition for Hello Kitty, and that was my first cartoon.
And then what voice?
Kitty.
You were the voice of Hello Kitty?
Yes.
Was it the first time they ever did a cartoon?
Yes.
Of Hello Kitty? Because
Yes.
for years, it's just a silent little fucking zombie cat
Right.
that every kid loves.
And the funny thing is, I grew up in a toy candy store. My parents had a very famous candy store called The Wiz in Toronto.
Where?
All the kids on Eglinton, at Yonge and Eglinton, or Bathurst and Eglinton. They were the first to import Hello Kitty merchandise into Canada. And I have a picture of my dad in a big Hello Kitty suit when I'm like 5.
Oh my God. So it's in the blood and in the family.
Really weird.
So that must have been lucrative as hell. If you're the first one who brings Hello Kitty to the Canadians.
When you say lucrative and Canadian, they don't go together. That's why we move here.
That's true, man. You
Tara, we got you scale, eh?
Somebody broke my heart when they told me like they got $1 billion, what in this country would be $1 billion injury on a job related accident.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you pray for that. Like you retire, you never have to do anything for the rest of your life. But you can't in Canada. They don't really
No.
sue people and stuff.
No, and there's no real star system or pay increase. It's like, okay, great, you booked this one, on to the next one, eh? You know, like
So you're like, hey man, so I booked a lot of these. How about you juice me up to the next level, man? I want to get paid more. And they're like, oh, why would you do that? What are you, some kind of American pig? That's how we lose these jobs. All right, so you had this little Notion shop that you grew up. Do you work in?
Yes, I used to do the cash register and help out my mom, and
You were a clerk?
yeah, I was a clerk. They used to call me the Whiz Kid because it was called the Whiz.
So people come in and be like, hey, whiz kid.
Yeah.
Did you go to school? They call you whiz kid?
Yes, because they were jealous. It was a cool place. There was so much candy and toys and stickers and
No
fun stuff.
doubt. You must have been like way popular with
Way.
girls and boys
Yeah.
as well. At what point did you ever turn your back on the shop where you were like, oh man, this is beneath me. Kids' toys and candy. Fuck this. I want to sing.
No, because I could take whatever I want.
Stop. Is that your real voice? You're just doing
I
that.
don't have a real voice anymore.
I was going to say, like, do you pick one? Well, all right.
Today I shall sound like.
When you wake up, what's the first voice comes out of your head? Fuck you. That's
That's
not
because I'm
it.
talking to my kids or my puppy. We have a puppy.
When you wake up and the phone rings, like I call you at 6 a.m.
6, I'm way up because like 5:30 I'm up.
All right. I call you at 4 a.m.
Hello.
That's your real voice.
I guess, yeah. Actually, you know what? Speaking of Batgirl, that's the closest thing to my real voice is Batgirl.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Why? Why'd you go with that? Because you're like, fuck it, man. Why not be me? I'm my own hero.
Okay, you want some cool Terra history?
Hell yes.
So my dad also has, to this day, a World War II museum. It's a good sized room. It's a little bit bigger than this room in Toronto.
In Toronto?
Yes.
Where in Toronto? Plug it up, man. Where?
No, you can't go see it. It's just his place to putchkey. I mean,
It's not public?
He used to do tours and he doesn't anymore, but eventually I hope someone that really appreciates all that memorabilia grabs it up because it's home front memorabilia. It's the first edition of every comic book ever made, magazines. He's got a canteen set up, a schoolroom set up. He's got like a signed document from Hitler. He's got like crazy
And
memorabilia.
is it World War II in general
World
or
War II.
Canadian-centric World War II?
It's mostly Canadian, but he's got everything. He's got both. But he was very fascinated by the war as a little boy. He was born in 1933, so he was just fascinated.
So he was in that era.
Yeah.
He grew up around it.
So, and my sister was really drawn to Wonder Woman, and I didn't want to do that because that was her thing. So I started collecting Batgirl as a little girl. So
Stop it.
Yeah, there's still some pretty cool stuff back there. There was like some old comics and some old cereal boxes and stuff like that with Batgirl stuff on it.
So when you got the call or whatever, or did you lobby for the job eventually? I know we're jumping ahead.
Well,
We'll
I
jump
just,
back.
I recently moved to LA and I booked 101 Dalmatians, which was a really big deal because it was 100 guaranteed episodes, which, never happens anymore.
That's what Disney does. When they produce, they tend to produce 2
Back
seasons.
then,
Yeah, not
but not
anymore.
now.
So what is it? What is it now?
Oh, we'll pick up 6 and see how it does, which I think is a mistake because you get people excited about it and then there's no more.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll do more, but it's not Disney either. It's just sort of everywhere. Like I think Napoleon Dynamite was 6, which is a hilarious show with a great fan base. And if you look back at the first Seinfeld episodes, the first anything episodes, they're not as good as the latter ones. They need to get their groove.
Even The Simpsons, the
Yeah.
first 6 Simpsons episodes, if you watch them today, you're
Right.
like, I don't
Yeah,
know
if
about this.
I was running the show, I'd say at least pick up a season to
Did
start
Na-
with.
Did Napoleon, they only did 6, but they're going forward with that. Yes.
Not
or no?
right now.
Right now?
No. So I was in the audition room, and again, who doesn't love Batgirl? And I saw a lot of big on-camera celebrities in that room, and some voiceover people that I knew were really successful, and it was intimidating, but also like
You're
I
like,
sort
I'm
of-
amongst cool people.
yeah, and I sort of knew there's something I have that they don't have, which is the right age for it, and my real voice suits it. And a lot of times they like you to kind of look like your character. I think it's just, I don't know why, because I mean, not that I look like every character. I certainly don't look like my little boy characters.
Yeah, really.
I don't know. It just sort of felt like I could do this. So I was confident, but at the same time, I'm thinking, there's no way. I mean, look at this room. It was a crazy room. And then I went in and I felt really good about it. And then when my agent called me, he says, "Oh my God, you're the girl. You're the girl that's the bat. You're the bat girl. You're Batgirl." And we were both like, ah, we were screaming. I mean, it's just such an honor to have that kind of role. And I've been lucky that I've had all these really cool, like Batgirl and then Harley and a Powerpuff Girl and a Rugrat and Raven.
You are. I
and
mean, that's the thing.
MJ. I mean, like, there's all these amazing roles.
You are the voice of everyone's childhood at this point. You know what I'm saying?
That a lot.
You're in every time they turn a channel.
Yeah.
You're in something.
Yeah.
Before we jump into that, and because I know there are a bunch of bronies and Pegasisters out there waiting to hear some Twilight talk. Before we get to your massive body of work, little kid from Toronto, 5 years old, you decide you want to act.
I knew it.
Right then and there.
Yeah.
So you start doing every show you can. First big paid show is Music Man, and that's in Toronto? At a theater you're not quite sure whether it exists or not anymore.
I think it doesn't, yeah.
From that point forward, and your parents way supportive, they'll like do it up.
Way. Well, they could see it.
They
could see it. There was no stopping it.
And also, like with talented kids and whatnot, and kids that every once in a while you meet these preternaturally creepy kids that just know like, what they want to do for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of like
I think it's lucky to do that because if you're good at like if you think you could do a bunch of different things or you're not quite sure and you go to college and then I think it's harder to not know. And I'm lucky. I think I'm lucky that I knew that young that that's what I wanted to do.
So how long are you doing it in Toronto before you come down here?
From 13 to 20, about 7 years.
And so over that time, hit me with the things you did.
Okay, so Hello Kitty, the Garbage Pail
How many
Kids.
Hello Kitties were there? They do like
I think
a
2 seasons worth, I think.
What was that like, being the voice of Hello Kitty? I mean, that's
oh my God. Okay, so first of all, it's my first cartoon.
That's the first time Hello Kitty spoke, right?
Yeah, and it's me and Cree Summer. From a different world. She's a genius actress. She was also, if you liked Elmira from Pinky and the Brain and Elmira, she's Elmira.
Okay.
She was with me on Drawn Together. She's Foxy Love. She's just hilarious. And she was the coolest teenager. I mean, she used to show up to work in a Harley or an MG and she's all tatted out. And we had so much fun. She used to call me Hello Shitty and she was Cat Shit. She was the bad cat. And we work together now too, which is so much fun. So it was crazy. It was so much fun. It's the funnest job in the world.
Do people come up to you, little girls, and be like, "You are Hello Kitty"? Did you ever? Let me ask you this: Did you ever get somebody say, "Look, I was a Hello Kitty fan my whole fucking life, and you think that's what Hello Kitty sounds like"?
No,
never.
No. First of all,
the irate Hello Kitty.
I think it's hard to even get a hold of them because that was back when you could get it on, a Betamax or a VHS
massive tape. Yes.
But I did see them being sold, and when I go into the stores, sometimes I'll see like a poster of it or something. Like, that's me. Like, oh, that's so cool.
All right, so that was the big one. The next one was Garbage Pail Kids.
There was Garbage Pail Kids. There was My Pet
the movie, or was the
series, an animated series that kind of got the boot real quick. But I played a character called Patty Putty that skin could go all over the place. And I remember I met one of the animators and he said, it's so much fun to animate to your voice. Often people say, who goes first? And I always say, well, we go first. It's preferable because then everyone can be more creative. If Robin Williams had to watch The Genie, you get half the creativity.
Right.
So he said to me, it's so much fun to animate your voice because if a line was, in that case, would you please explain what's going on? I'd be like, in that case, would you please explain what's going on? And they'd go, and her tongue would be like, 10 feet ahead of her. So that was really fun. So then My Pet Monster. That's
fucking so amazing. You just lapse.
Beetlejuice.
You can dip into it and then come right back to a conversation. You could, if you would fuck up a stoner's head if you just did 5 minutes of conversation where you just kept jumping voices.
Is it messing you up yet?
Not at all, but it could be fun. All right, so wait, Beetlejuice. What did you do on Beetlejuice?
I played the little bitchy girl named Claire.
Okay.
And also this really dorky girl named Bertha.
Okay.
So Claire was like, Lydia, please. And then Bertha was like, wow, I've never been invited to a party that had invitations. She was like really goofy. That was awesome.
It was amazing. You just go from one to you jump from one to the other. And your face, you change expressions a little bit, but there's no warning, like a click of a track or something. You just boom right into it. Yeah. That's impressive. And you can remember.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
A long time ago.
I know. How do you fucking keep that straight?
It's so funny. People always say, like, do you mix up your characters from show to show? And I say no. And I think it's because when we create a character, they live up here. So it's not like people say, oh, I want to do cartoons. People say I have an interesting voice. I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's not about a cuckoo voice. It's about bringing these characters to life. And
it's
people
performance.
Are like, oh, you're just reading, right? No, you're not just reading. And these characters actually exist. When you're in those moments, you're picturing those moments. So it's not like I would ever, when I'm doing a Powerpuff Girls episode, Timmy Turner from the Fairly OddParents isn't going to suddenly come out as Bubbles.
Never seep in, not even a taste.
No, because that's where Bubbles lives. So
All right, so and we'll get to Bubbles.
Okay.
Because I grew. This house was packed with Powerpuff Girls stuff for a long, long time. I have a daughter. It was the perfect time. I went to the premiere of the feature and whatnot. I saw you at the premiere, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
For the when it was in it was over in like Century City.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so after Beetlejuice,
I did Care Bears.
Holy crap! What Care Bear did you play?
I was like the little girls that they had to help, like the Nutcracker specials and, girls that needed love or whatever. I wasn't a bear. I was always like the little kids that needed help.
Did you want to be a bear?
I mean.
Does a bear pay more?
No, it's Canadian.
So it doesn't matter.
Nothing pays more.
They're like, you can play a bear or the lead.
And you can play all three and still get the same scale, eh?
Garbage Man 3 as well. And you're going to get $120.
Eh?
That is 60 toonies.
Yeah.
That you walk away with in cash.
We didn't have toonies and loonies back then.
All right, so you do Beetlejuice, you do Care Bears.
My Pet Monster.
Good God, it never ends. Keep going.
I'm trying to remember what else I did at that time, but I was also doing.
You're on camera as well?
Yeah, I did a sitcom called Mosquito Lake.
Okay, and that was up
Mike
in
McDonald and Dan Redican.
Up in Toronto.
Yes.
Right, and what was on CBC, City?
CBC, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
CBC. It was really fun, and then I did some films too up there. I did some stuff with like Angelica Houston and Sam Neill. There was something called Family Pictures that I did.
Did you ever try out for Degrassi?
No.
Why not?
I think at the time it was
between.
non-union.
Oh, they hadn't, or it was not.
Yeah, non-union.
And you were union at
Yeah.
that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, and then at what point are you like, all right, I'm fucking done, man?
I have to say, like, I knew when I was a little girl that I wanted to come here.
Right.
I always wanted to. And actually, when I was doing the sitcom, they're like, you got to go to LA. Forget high school. And I was like, I always knew I wanted to.
You were in high school at this point?
Yeah. And I always knew at least I wanted to finish high school. So that was sort of a goal before I moved here. But I always wanted to move here. I always thought this is where I'm meant to be. So finally, when I was about 19 or 20, I said, that's it, I'm going to go. And I didn't know very many people.
Did you come alone?
I came alone and...
Did your parents come out with you the first trip?
No.
Really? You didn't even bring out mom and dad to check the place out?
No.
A relative? Anybody? Friend?
No. I knew the director from the Hello Kitty series is a guy named Michael Hack. And then I also stayed with Mike McDonald, who played my dad on the sitcom. And my first apartment, I was actually living with Nev Campbell. She had moved down at the same time.
Oh, that's why she's Canadian as well.
Yeah, we went to high school together.
Oh, so you're out. So you come out here. She already out here? Or
Nope. We came out around the same time.
Around the same time. You're like, hey, man, let's get an apartment.
Yeah.
Hide from all these fucking Los Angelinos and shit. Be Canadian together in the dark.
Yeah.
Right on. How long did you live together?
Not that long because she booked Party of Five and went whoosh.
And she was like, fuck you. I'm getting a house. You're on your own, Canuck. You're like, what happened to the Sister of Solidarity? She used to live like right around the block, up around here someplace. Okay, so you lived there for a little bit. She gets Party 5. And didn't you do Party 5 as well?
I did one episode.
How was that?
It was fun. Yeah.
And so when she takes off, what do you do? Do you keep the apartment or you go someplace else?
Yes. I'm trying to remember if I stayed there. Yeah, I stayed there.
For how long?
I guess a few years in that place. I moved around quite a bit when I first came here. My first area was like Beverly Fairfax. I was there for a really long time until I found my dog. And then they wouldn't let me keep her, so I moved.
What do you mean
you
found her?
When I found my dog, I was living with a guy from England who didn't have ID. And people told him to go down to Alavera Street. And there was people going, ID, and all these crazy little stores that sold like birds and fish for human consumption. I don't know what the heck was going on. And there's this cute little dog. And I saw this woman kick her, and she ate a tortilla chip that a cockroach rolled over. And I'm like, what?
We're in hell.
Yeah, and I picked her up, and she was the cutest little. I have no idea what kind she was, and the lady didn't speak any English, and I knew I wasn't allowed dogs in my apartment, so I left. But I couldn't stop thinking about her, so we drove all the way back, and the store was closed. But she was by the door, and the door was open, even though the store was closed. And she jumped up into my arms, and the lady was right beside the store. And I said, "Is this okay?" And I gave her $50. She said, "Okay." And that was my dog. And by the end of the weekend, I was trying to find her a place to live because I couldn't keep her, but I was so in love that I moved. That was my first move to the Valley.
You're going to break my heart. This is so fucking touching, man. Do you think she thought you were going to eat that fucking dog?
I don't think so.
Well, you said there was animals for consumption.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and you know what? I think she was so adorable. I think she was probably going to be used in fights or something like that.
The dog?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, my God.
As bait because she was so
Right. You saved that dog's life. You are Batgirl.
I'm Batgirl.
Even before you were Batgirl.
Yeah.
Because this is before that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the dog, and then you're like, I got to change my life around the dog.
Right.
What point? And so you're here, you're booking gigs like crazy. What are you booking from the moment you
first
get
2
here?
years, it was slow. And in fact, the first woman to give me a job is a director by the name of Marcia Goodman. She gave me Hello Kitty. And I was broke here and didn't know what the hell my next move was. And
What
I had
did you
a couple,
do when you were broke and like sitting
I would
around
literally
not working?
I was trying so hard, and I would cry like going, I know I'm meant to do this. And my parents would send me as much as they could, and they were very supportive. And I had 2 eviction notices in my apartment when I got a call from Marcia Goodman, who said, do you want to come be my Heather for the new Gadget Boy and Heather series? And I was like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, to hear your name in the title is pretty amazing.
I was like, oh, and she just gave it to me. There wasn't an audition, and it was myself and Maurice LaMarche. And
how many episodes? And Maurice LaMarche,
there was
doesn't
a
he
lot.
do the? He does the. Is he the Pinky? No, who is he?
Yeah, he's the brain.
The Brain. That's
Yeah.
it. The other one. How long was it?
I think we did at least 26 of that one.
So that pays
that
well enough where you're like,
Stay.
woo.
Yeah, I can stay. I can
Right.
hang out a little while. And then it was right after that I switched agents because I think they didn't quite get me. And
Right.
it's like, I already have over 20 animated series to my name. I know what I'm doing. And in
You've
this
got a
business,
bank of credits. That's why it kills me. You're like, first 2 years, not much. It's like, why?
right. I think it's just that people have to get to know you here. And that's about getting you out and sending you out. And in voiceovers, it's all about confidence. If you get in that studio and you're nervous and you blow it, you might not get another shot. So get me in there. And so when I switched agents after Gadget Boy and Heather, it was like, bang, they got me in. And I remember my agent telling me when I booked 101 Dalmatians that they're like, where have you been hiding this girl? This character was a chicken that thought she was a dog because she lived with all the Dalmatians.
Right.
And I remember right before the audition, I called my mom. I'm like, she's supposed to be really neurotic. And I was like, would it be funny if like every time she had a B or a P, she got tripped up on it? And she's like,
I can put up with the grilling jokes, the make references, even you asking me why every time I cross the road.
like she was crazy. And she's like, yes, do that. And so that's what booked the gig. And I was sitting in the room with Pam Siegel and E.G. Daly and Kat Susi and I think Frank Welker and Jeff Bennett, all these huge voice
Massive
people, right?
names, yeah.
And at a first session, they play back all your audition tapes. So you know, because you'll do a few choices at the audition and then you don't know which
So
one
they're
to
like,
pick.
this is the one we liked
Right.
most.
So I was last. And everyone just went,
The slow turn.
and I'll never forget Pam Siegel. She goes, you just came into a room of fucking greats and blew everyone away.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I love her. So we
That's
had
the
fun.
moment, man.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the 101 Dalmatian show.
101 Dalmatians and Powerpuff Girls and Batgirl all came
All
around
back
the
to
same
back.
time, and that's what put me on the map.
So Powerpuff Girls predates Batgirl, so let's do that. Powerpuff Girls was it Craig McCracken?
Yeah.
This show, now it's part of pop culture history, but this show at its time was so ahead of its time and so fucking out there and so wonderful. And it's tough to come up with a new cartoon, period.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird because, you can draw infinite amount of things, but it's tough to do a new team cartoon. And
Yeah.
they cracked the code with this one. This was fucking phenomenal.
And especially since it was girls. 'Cause
All
the
girls.
network's not always so excited to take a girl show that's
Let's be honest, the
super
network's never excited to take an all-girl, cartoon because they figure like boys. That's a boys thing.
Right.
Girls play with dolls.
And the
boys
thing is,
watch
I've got a
cartoons.
7 and 10-year-old who both love Powerpuff Girls on Boomerang now.
Right.
All their friends love it. I'm like, y'all are missing the boat. You could be selling another few million backpacks right now.
You watch, it'll come the same way like the ponies came back and
Teen
Transformers
Titans
came
just got to
back.
pick up.
It'll be it'll be back. You give it 2 more minutes, somebody's gonna be like, "Hey man, I used to love the Powerpuff Girls when I was dot."
We had so much fun doing that show.
It sounded like a real good time. It's you
E.G.
and
Daly.
E.G. Daly, who was in Valley Girl. That's
Yes.
how I know her from
Yeah.
Valley Girl.
Kathy
And-
Cavadini.
Now who's that?
She's done quite a body of work. She's actually in the original My Little Pony, so she's been around a long time. But
Holy
I'd say
crap.
Powerpuff Girls is her biggest thing. And Tom Kenny and Tom Kane, and me and EG were. If the engineer from that ever wants to sell what went on between takes, he'd be very rich. I
Right.
mean, we just got so ridiculous between takes. I mean, dirty, crazy, rewriting the songs.
voices, in those voices.
Buttercup, her crabs are wicked
itchy, like crazy, stupid, just stupid. Like we would just get so silly. We'd be like crying and be like, okay, let's get rolling. Like, once you start laughing in a studio, you can't
stop. No, once the giggles come in. How did you get it? How did you wind up with that gig? Was somebody just like, hey, there's an audition for this role? Or
yeah, my agent sent me out for the audition. I guess from the Oh Yeah cartoon to the series, they wanted to hear a new take on Bubbles. And so they were looking for something that sort of fit with the other girls. You know, Kathy's sort of the serious one, and Iji's got that raspy. And then I came in and auditioned, and they just loved me.
That was it? One time only?
Yeah, I think so.
And was that one of those shows where like, we're going to do a shit ton right up front? Or did they do only?
Yeah, I think there was a good pickup on that to start with.
And where did you come up with the voice? Where did you find the voice for that?
You know, whenever you have an audition, you know this, but the audience might not. They'll give you a drawing of the character and a short character description and maybe a show Bible, a shorter version, and then the lines and then the stage direction between the lines. And you sort of have to go in thinking, what are they going to want this to sound like? So she was just super cute and I think she was, 6 years old or whatever the description was, and just loved coloring and butterflies and whatever. And
I just thought it would be really cute if she talked like that. And then other things started happening, like picky.
Like she'd have weird pronunciations of things. Like that's the organic part,
right?
Where it wasn't
so
like decided.
It's just I'm sorry. It's so fucked up to watch you lapse into it, and nothing changes. I mean, your expression changes, but it's not like she took a hit of helium and suddenly busted into it. She just literally went from regular pronunciation right, and my eyes widen as it happens. It's so amazing.
Some things I changed. I don't look so pretty.
What do you mean?
Like Terrence from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I don't look pretty when I do that.
Go ahead, do it. Let me see.
Dude, don't be such a dweeb. Blueface. See, I don't look cute when I do that.
It's not bad. You're out of your mind. That's cute too. I was waiting for like something horrific to happen, but it's the same adorable face with the boy's voice coming out.
You do like little changes. Like I remember doing Powerpuff Girls, Bubbles talks to squirrels, and whenever that would happen, I'd go tee, 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 tee. And Tom Kenny was like, "Is this how you talk to squirrels with your, fingers on your
fingers
cheeks?"
and your cheeks.
Like, yes. And yesterday I was doing Mad TV, and there was a character that's farting the whole time, and we were creating the voice, and
literally it worked better when I lifted a cheek.
And I didn't even realize it, and then I said to everyone in the booth, I'm like, I'm lifting a cheek for this character as she's farting.
Right.
I had no idea why that's helping me, but
it's whatever it brings you to that next level that
Yes.
it enables you to punctuate
within the parameters of the microphone. Because you still have to be in the right position. I work quite a bit with Stan Lee lately, and he loves to look at the actors because he's more used to the on-camera stuff.
Do Bubbles again where you do the excited word, where you punctuate or hit the wrong word. I just
picky.
Oh my god,
Picky.
My favorite Powerpuff Girls moment of all time is hands down. It was in the feature. I only got away with it in the feature, I think, and it was when you guys were in a normal class in Townsville, and they're like, now go up and do your ABCs, and you were like A, B, C, D, E, and then the roof collapsed, and then you all went F. That's how fucking subversive and genius that is for the Powerpuff Girls to essentially say fuck in a movie theater. Oh, I love it so much. There was so fucking much of that show that was utterly fantastic. Did you get to do the toys and everything?
Yeah, most of them.
Really?
Most of them, yeah.
What do you mean most? Every once in a while?
I mean, sometimes you'll find like there'll be a toy and you're like, that's not me. And it makes me so crazy because a lot of times they don't even go to the actor. They'll automatically assume that we're going to want a crazy amount of money and they voice match it.
Right.
And it's like, how about come to us first?
Right.
Because for me, it's the integrity of the character. Someone will say, oh, I got this toy. You didn't sound so good. I'm like, because it's not me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if I helped create a role, I want to be a part of it. So, I mean, I just recently signed a My Little Pony toy for someone. It said talking Twilight Sparkle and she sounded like Linda Evans. I'm like, no, it's not Twilight Sparkle. I'm like, come to me first.
Hit us with a little taste of Twilight Sparkle. Go ahead.
Dear Princess Celestia, today I got to do a podcast. Your faithful student, Twilight Sparkle.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. I mean, do you ever fight with your man? Never, right? All right, like cable. You're switching around on channels and it's irritating him. And he's like, could you pick a fucking channel? And then you just rock him with like, do that.
Oh my goodness, I don't want to watch this show.
And then you giggle, and then
Right.
you're like, you rock.
Yeah.
Like, you must never fight
Not
with
really.
anybody. No?
I don't like to fight. No.
No, I would imagine. And who to fucking fight with you? You've got the ultimate weapon. You could just be like, cute voice.
It's good too, like when you want something, like, can I please have that money back that you borrowed? You can get mad at that face, right?
That is, oh my God. I would get nothing done. I'd wake up and just be like, do something funny. Say something adorable. Just read the fucking newspaper. You could read the newspaper every morning, the most depressing shit, and do it in a Bubbles voice, and it's just all good.
It's funny. We were doing a while ago, a long time ago, the red carpet for the Little Mermaid 2 premiere.
Right.
And they said to my husband, they said, so you sleep with a mermaid? And he's like, and a Powerpuff Girl and a Rugrat. And then they said, does she do voices in bed? He's like, no.
Yeah, that would be weird.
That'd be really weird.
That would be the one place where I'd be like, not here. No. I need the real you here.
You don't want to hear, give it to me, Daddy.
Holy shit.
You don't want to hear that.
I not even in a joking way. That's amazing, though. All right, so Powerpuff Girls is, that's bang, zoom to the moon. That's where even people back home are just like, holy Christ, you're part of the culture, the fabric, the cultural mosaic.
That and Rugrats too, because Rugrats was so huge.
Was that before or after?
I think it was after, but it was such a huge show, and like those kind of things that did not tape in Toronto. I'm like, it'd be so cool to work for Klasky Chupo. And then they introduced Baby Dill. Like, I don't know, I just manifest everything. I just
That's
see it.
true.
I'm like,
you wanted
wow.
to do it, and it just kind of. How does one, for those listening that are just like now, and this speaks to your area of expertise, they want to be you, not necessarily like before you said like some cats just they have a funny voice and they want to do this. No. They want to manifest for themselves.
Yeah.
They want to see it and dream it and then be it. How does one do that?
You know, I gotta tell you, I know this is gonna sound cuckoo, but my mother-in-law is an astrologer, and she said you have to see this movie, and it was The Secret. It's the worst acting you've ever seen in your life. I'm sure you've seen it.
No, what is it called?
It's called The Secret. It's about the laws of attraction.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Okay.
But when I was watching it, I was like, wow, I do so much of that by nature. I knew when I was 5 years old that I would be in California and I'd be acting and I'd live in a big yellow house, and I do. I saw the whole thing. When there's something that I want, I believe it's mine. I walk into a room. You can see the faces of the girls when I walk into a room because I know it's mine. Not in a bitchy way.
Right.
It's very positive and love. This is mine.
Right.
And then,
like,
by the way,
fuck.
if it only works 60% of the time, great. You got a good life.
Yeah.
So I like to live my life that way. Very positive, very just holding on to exactly what you want and bringing that with being good and never trying to get there by hurting someone else. Or I mean, you know, you talk about the bronies in this community that's so supportive of a show. And then there's these haters, of course, because there's haters in anything.
The moment somebody likes something, you'll find a
Right.
couple
And it's like,
people
you
that
know
hate it.
what? They're not molesting children or ponies.
Right.
They like this show. And, you know, to come down on a fan base for liking something cute is absurd.
Yes.
And anything hater, like my brain goes, I don't get anything like that. It doesn't
It's
make any sense to me.
discouraging and unfortunate, but then this is the flip side. This is how you make it positive for yourself. If people are still have enough free time to sit around and hate on a brony or a Pegasister, an adult for liking a kid's cartoon, that means the terrorists haven't won yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're still relatively safe. Because I remember right after September 11th, nobody was hating on anything. Everyone was just too fucking scared and like the world's over.
Yeah.
But the fact that everyone, at least in America, you know, I'm sure it's not the world over, but in America where you can have a bunch of assholes who are just like, fucking hate these bronies, man. That means that at least we're waking up under the kind of illusion
Right.
of a peaceful world for
That's
the
right.
time being.
Yeah.
All right. So Bubbles leads to Batgirl. Are you in
I
that
don't
world,
think
Warner
so.
Brothers? And they're
No.
just like, hey,
No, because that wasn't at the time. That was separate. Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers.
That's
were
right.
separate.
Yeah, that's right. Look at you.
Yeah.
Man.
No, I just, I came in and I think Bruce Timm and Andrea Romano and Paul Dini, I think they just saw me as her.
As you said before, that
Yeah.
you kind of look the part. You actually do kind of look like Babs
And
Gordon.
because it wasn't, there's so many cartoons where you get to be silly and over the top. And then there's those cartoons where you get to be really real. And that was one of those. And Batgirl was just playing it for real. And I love that, by the way. I mean, my favorite superhero stuff, especially with Batman, is the darker stuff. Like Kevin Conroy and Hamill and me in the studio was so magical and surreal. And that's my favorite Batman stuff, is that real stuff.
To know that you take, like, what some people would say, oh, it's a cartoon, and you can make somebody fucking cry with it.
I make myself cry.
Do you really?
Yes.
Like while you're,
Sometimes.
explain one. Give me an example.
I don't want to be a spoiler, but there's some moments recently with Harley where she cries. She's sad. And I, doing the dialogue, found myself crying. And I think they were filming me too for some expression stuff. But because, like you said before, people understand that it's acting. So you're picturing all those moments. So if you're being genuine and organic in those moments, you're going to feel those emotions and you're going to cry. And sometimes you watch things after and you cry. I remember when I first watched the Rugrats movie and Baby Dill and Tommy meet for the first time, I was like, oh.
Oh, you nerd.
I'm such a nerd. I was crying. I was like, that's so cute. Because all the moments are so genuine,
right?
You know? And so I think when something's touching at your heartstrings and it's real, then you cry. Or if you're sad in a moment, you cry. And so I've been sad for Batgirl and Harley and some other characters where I've gotten teary. And
when did you do Harley? Harley's in the games?
Arkham City.
In Arkham City. And then there's the new game coming out is Harley's Revenge or something, isn't it? So you're that as well. You take center stage.
I know.
We'll get there. Oh my, look at you, your eyes lit. We'll get there. So back on Batgirl, man. How did it for how long? How many years was it?
Don't you know?
You would think. I think you took over when it became the Batman and Robin Adventures, or that's when they started putting Batgirl in like almost every week.
Yeah.
So it went on, I think at that point for, I don't want to say 3-4 seasons where we need Paul Dini. He would have known in an instant. But do you remember recording and what was it like? I mean, since we do pretty much talk about Batman here with the central focus Batman, what was it like sitting there recording a character that like you had kind of free reign on?
There weren't too many people. Though. You're like, wow, I'm Batgirl, and there's Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. and you're just like, wow. Like every single episode was pinching yourself, and to watch Hamill go into the Joker, and he was born to be the Joker as far as I'm concerned. He was so incredible to watch. And I mean, it was fun in terms of not silly fun, like Fairly Odd Parents is very silly fun, but it's just fun in terms of seeing the camaraderie of all these amazing performers in this room and getting to do these characters with the most amazing writing in any show. I mean, even the sillier episodes, like Girls' Night Out is my favorite.
Of course, Girls' Night Out. If you don't, if for those who haven't seen it, is a wonderful episode. That is, I had the print for it for the longest time.
I have a cell.
Do you? Yeah, you have an actual cell.
Yeah, with me and Supergirl in our towels.
Oh my God, that's so hot. They put out a print of it at the Warner Brothers store, and it was basically like an almost all girl episode of the Batman animated series. Mm-hmm. So it was. Batgirl, Kara-El, Supergirl, Harley, Ivy, and all girl power episode too.
It's insane fun. I always wanted a spin-off with Supergirl and Batgirl. I thought that would have been fun.
Yeah, man, why? Oh my God.
Well, you know, Lauren Faust just produced those little shorts she created. Did you see those? The Super Best Friends Forever?
Did you do the voice?
Yeah.
And they're doing those on what? On Cartoon Network or something?
I think so. Well,
Cartoon Net, DC Nation?
Yeah.
Is that DC Nation is a show or an hour or whatever?
I think so, yeah.
That they're doing on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
And it's what every comic book fan has fucking dreamed of forever. Like, just, you got all these characters, man. Like, use them. So they're using multimedia formats to tell different DC stories. They do animation. They'll do, different styles of animation across the boards. And then, 2D, and then they do 3D, and then they do like papercraft, and then they do live action. Like there was a Blue Beetle, like with actors walking around wearing suits and shit. So they're doing a bunch of things and just letting people go creative with it. And what is the girl one? What was it called?
Super Best Friends Forever, I think.
Super Best Friends Forever.
And we're a little bit younger, but it's really cute. I mean, Lauren Faust, who is also the designer behind My Little Pony, is so talented. That's such a cute visual. I mean, they're just adorable.
And what is the plot of it?
It's like we want to take the invisible plane out and, we want to have these adventures and do crazy things. And Wonder Woman's very serious and Batgirl and Supergirl aren't so serious. And it's just chicks hanging out, It's cute.
It's adorable. Yeah. And so the idea is they'll do a few and they're like, hey, man, this takes off.
Yeah.
It's like a tryout space for them.
Right.
Did you get, it's true. We talked about in the beginning, like you have the lock on the character because nobody else, when you think about,
the Joker, Mark's had to compete with Jack Nicholson and later on Heath Ledger and whatnot. And when you think about Batman, Kevin Conroy's had to compete with Michael Keaton and now Christian Bale. But you really do kind of have Batgirl all to yourself. When most people think about Batgirl, you are the voice that they hear in their head. And nice. Barbara Gordon. That's nice. Do you do it different as Batgirl and Barbara Gordon? Did you differentiate it?
Not really.
So you put on a cowl and you're the same person?
Yeah, she's the same person.
What was your, so that one, you do that for a bunch and that leads off into, what was the next big thing?
Fairly Odd Parents,
That's
Showdown.
another one. Which one?
Shaolin Showdown.
Fairly Odd Parents fucking huge too.
Yeah,
right?
we're actually doing another new season of that just got picked up.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're the voice of Timmy. So you're like a Bart Simpson thing going on.
Kinda, yeah.
Nancy Cartwright being a voice of a little boy.
Yeah.
You do Timmy. Do Timmy real quick.
Cool, I wish Cosmo and Wanda were here.
That's fucked up. Come on, you don't even like that one. You didn't even like change. Like you need to do like a eyebrow raise or something that indicates that
Here
something.
comes the boy voice.
Yeah, something otherworldly is going to come out of your head. Okay, so Fairly Odd Parents is fucking massive.
Yeah.
And then it's. What happens after? Well, I mean, I'm trying to get to the ponies, but what happens to
Ben
Fairly?
10.
Ben fucking 10 as well. That's huge. My God, you're everywhere, man. Like it's like Batgirl's just one thing you've done amongst a zillion.
Teen Titans.
Raven.
Oh
my God.
I definitely have no expression for Raven.
You sound like an emo chick.
See,
That's
Raven
awesome.
was another one of those where I came in for the audition and it said she was dark and it had like a Batgirl feel to it. Also, I just did Extreme Ghostbusters where I played Kylie, where she's like a dark girl. So I sort of did my own voice again. And I'm like, oh, it's too close to Batgirl. And I left and I'm like, can I try one more thing? And Andrea's like, sure. And I just thought, wouldn't it be cool if she just had this weird little roll every time she said anything? And they're like, that's what stuck. So it's like a lot of times you just have to be ready to be organic and go with it. And that was like in the audition room, had that idea to have this role. And it's funny because she never gets crazy excited. And I remember Jeff Bennett, who's seen me scream as Bubbles or Timmy, whatever, came in and was like, wow, Terry, you're working really hard on this one. Everyone's screaming and Teen's going. I'm like, all right, it's time to go.
Yeah, there's no workout, man.
Not really.
Rock a little Raven, bust a whole sentence in Raven speak.
Well, she's definitely over all of the other Teen Titans, but when she has to get into action, she does a little Azarath, Metreon, Zinthos. That's about exciting as she ever gets.
So awesome. And you did Disney, you said? You played, you were in Little Mermaid 2?
Yes.
Who were you in
3.
Little Mermaid 2?
In the second one, I played her daughter.
Okay. Oh my God. Did you like Little Mermaid?
Oh my God.
Her eyes
I don't
just
know
rolled
what
back in
little
her fucking
girl
head.
didn't want to be the mermaid.
Of course.
Okay,
So it was a dream come true to play Ariel.
I could have died after that. Like I literally walked in the room and like
only
I said,
a little Canadian girl says something that earnest and sweet and sincere. Like, oh my God, it was a dream to be. I could die after playing Ariel's daughter. American girls would be like, "Are you kidding me? I want to do coke off some fucking porn star, maybe Tom Cruise or something like that." You're like, "No, just to be the daughter of Ariel." Oy.
It's true.
What was the plot of the? You'll have to forgive me. I didn't watch the sequel.
Your daughter didn't like it?
She did, but I didn't watch them.
Well, and I told you I'd worked with some huge celebrities in Toronto, but then when I met Jodie, I burst into tears.
She's the voice of.
Are
What is her
you
name?
okay?
Jodie.
Jodie Benson.
She is the voice of the
Ariel.
Was she singing voice as well?
Uh-huh.
So she's the acting voice and the singing voice.
Yeah. So when I met her, I burst into tears, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I've just loved you for so long." I mean, still in my room in Toronto, there's a huge Little Mermaid poster.
Nerd.
So,
Animation nerd.
Yeah.
Cartoon nerd.
Totally. And we got to, so in the main one, in the first one, she's singing and wants to be a human.
Right.
But in this, it's the reverse because the sea witch wants to kill the baby. And so they keep me away from the water and I want to be a mermaid.
Oh, so the
That's the
idea, so
reverse.
you take the lead in this one.
Yeah. And so the sea witch makes a deal with me so I can get my fins.
Right,
so it's
right.
the reverse. But when I sang with her in the studio, I was like, another like Batgirl, like pinch me. Like,
Right.
wow, I'm singing with Jodie Benson right now.
Did she do the Did you
There
ever
was
get to do
some
that?
stuff like that, but not quite that.
And so that was 2, and then there was 3.
I was in that too.
This fucking thing kept going on.
That
What
one had
happened
like
in the third
no
one?
music. That was like music was banned.
Oh, so there's no singing.
There's a little bit, but not for our characters. There's like a moment where
in this one you fight pirates, and there's not much room for singing.
it's like before. It's like the prequel. It's like before. It's meant to be before one.
Right on.
So she's like a teenager with her sisters and
And who were you?
2 of her sisters.
You got to play 2, and you had to change the voice?
Yeah.
Can you do both those voices now?
One of them was like, I hope
Stop
there's
it.
boys
Come on.
there.
How the fuck did you you didn't even think. There was no thought process. There was like watching a computer just run a program. The synapse fired. You immediately launched. You didn't even have to go. How many years ago is that?
4? I don't know.
That's astounding. There was not a moment of thought like, what? How did it go again? All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted. This is impressive to me.
Yeah, so she's like, I hope there's going to be boys there. And then the others were like, boys? Is there going to be boys? So she was like a boy hungry.
What's between that and the ponies?
Chowder.
Which is?
You never saw Chowder?
Uh-uh.
Oh, it's such a cute. It was like an animated cooking show on another planet with this little boy, Nicky, who was so cute. And it was me and Dwight Schultz and John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
And
I played a Yiddish booby that has a tuchus and it's like, honey, we got an order.
and it was really silly.
Don't,
and there was one
don't
episode.
ever do that one in the bedroom. Never. Of all the voices.
There was one episode where in the middle of the episode we run out of money. And then they show us in the studio going, how are we going to finish the episode? And then we have like a car wash on top of like Cartoon Network. It was really funny.
And it's live. They shot it live action.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was funny.
I remember somewhere along the way, we were involved in a very short-lived show that only ran twice on TV called Clerks the Cartoon.
I liked that one.
It was fun.
I was so excited to meet you.
That was a long fucking time ago, man. Paul Dini, I think, was our in on that one.
Yeah.
Because he'd come in and he came up with the second episode, which was a clip show episode.
Yeah.
It was like the characters get locked in a freezer and they reminisce about all their adventures, even though we've only ever had one episode. So he was feeding us talent, and you were one of the giggling girls.
Yeah.
And now to interrogate Dante are two giggling girls. I told you. I remember that. All right. So what else, man? And what you keep talking about animation, but you weren't acting, and like without animation, your body, your face on camera.
I did my first movie.
Sabrina? Weren't you in a bunch of Sabrinas?
Yeah.
Who were you in Sabrina?
I played a little British witch that never got any spells right.
Oh my God! Listen,
She's really
you
cute.
can do that too.
Yeah.
You can do accents.
Yeah.
What other accents can you do? Nationalities.
I can do anything if I've given enough
time.
time, but at the drop of a hat, I could do English, probably French, Australian. One time I had to do Cajun. That wasn't so easy.
All right.
It was for Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, and I was working on it, but it's such a tricky accent. It's like French with Southern and like this weird mix. And then we all came to do it at the table read, and Jim Cummings grew up there. So his was so bang on that he made all of us look bad. And they're
Who
like,
does
Tara,
Jim Cummings normally play?
He is on everything. He's like in a world. He does a lot of the trailers, but he's also Winnie the Pooh and he's Tigger. He's one of these
that's why I
crazy,
know the name.
versatile
Right.
actor. So after that, we all just did Southern accents because he was so good at Cajun. But if I don't
What's your
know,
French? Bust your French.
Well, you know, in Canada we learn French, so
that's
bonjour,
right.
comment
So that's
ça va,
not
ça
that
va bien, merci,
impressive.
and then I
Yeah,
have to
of
do it for
course.
a show, and it depends if it's French Canadian or where she's from.
Well, let's get to the ponies because I know a lot of people are like, fuck all this. I want to talk about My Little Pony. When did you wind up hooking up with that? Before they started? Were you in
Yes.
from the jump? So
Yes.
they probably wrote with you in their mind at this point.
Well, Lauren Faust, who I'd worked with on Powerpuff Girls and also Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
So she's all right. So what does she do?
She's a writer, designer, artist. She's incredible. She's actually married to Craig McCracken.
I was going to say because
Yeah.
those are both Craig McCracken
Yes,
shows.
yeah.
man.
And they're the loveliest couple in the world and so talented. I mean, I can't draw like anything. They're
Right.
so amazing.
Foster's is a beautiful show.
Beautiful. So she came to me and said, when you were a little girl, did you like My Little Pony? I'm like, of course. I grew up in a toy store. I had every freaking pony. I had a sticker collection of My Little Pony. I still have them at home. My sister just recently put some up on Facebook, some of the old ponies. And she's like, well, it's my dream to do this show. And I've been given this opportunity. So can I come over and show it to you? And maybe we'll lay down a little sizzle. I said,
She
sure.
really wanted to do My Little Pony?
Yeah.
It's so weird because that seems like a show that someone got assigned. Like you, figure out how to make ponies work.
I can't remember if she was approached or they approached her, but it's like that was her dream job. Like for me, the mermaid, it's her, the ponies.
Her passion was
Yeah.
My Little Pony.
So she came over to my house and I was like, oh my God. Like she had these amazing drawings of Equestria and Canada lot that were just, you'd hang them. Like she's so talented. This whole world that she created is so magical and mystical. And it's another reason it's drawn. Actually, I really believe that the reason it's drawn such an adult fan base is her artistry.
And that's it. For those who are unfamiliar with it, My Little Pony, the current incarnation of it's just called My Little Pony, right? Because there was one that I grew up on. Well, I didn't grow up on it, but it was on when I was a kid. And that was more about selling toys.
Right.
Clearly, you could tell when you watched the cartoon, it was like, hey, they introduced a new horse. And in the stores, there'd be a new horse.
Yeah.
But this new version of the show, I don't know what kind of kid audience it pulls. It must pull a wonderful kid audience. My kid is she's on the cusp. She's a tween, and she loves it. For the last year, her and her friends are brony nuts. But the what's been weird and oddly fascinating to watch grow around the show is, as Tara mentioned, this entire adult fan base that is, some people would be like, well, I guess they were people who were fans of the original show. It's not really.
No.
It's a whole standalone thing, and the dudes who like the show, they call them bronies, and the chicks who like the show, they call them Pegasisters and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's the adult versions, and who you mentioned before, like some people are like, I find this disturbing that adults like cartoons. But meanwhile, don't listen to this show because we fucking fawn over Batman like a son of a bitch. But it sounds like My Little Pony is for not just chicks, but adult dudes as well. Their version of a Batman, where they're like, we're passionate about this. This shit's not like it's real, but they're like, hey, it matters. It's important.
Well, at first I was really surprised because I do a lot of shows that have adult humor, like Fairly Odd Parents and certainly Drawn Together and Family Guy I've worked on. These shows, you get
That's
it.
right. You sing, right? You do voices, but every time Meg sings, you're singing Meg.
Yeah.
Do you have to adapt your voice to what's
Not so much,
voice?
really.
You
It's
just go
singing,
crazy.
yeah. But so at first I was like, really? And even Hasbro and the Hub are like, were completely surprised by this amazing fan base. But that day that Lauren came over, she showed me the artwork, and then we laid down 3 of the characters in my home studio for her to animate and present to Hasbro and the Hub. And she initially thought I was going to be Pinkie Pie because she's more like the Bubbles character. But then once she heard me do Twilight, she's like, "You're Twilight. You're the lead pony here. You have to be Twilight." And even when I first started voicing the show, I did the first one in Vancouver, and then now I do some of it here. I still didn't know. Nobody saw this fan base coming, and then I wasn't on Twitter really. I had like 100 followers because I had my name held on Twitter. And I was doing an episode of Big Time Rush. You said your daughter's a tween. Does she like that?
Of course she knows Big Time Rush.
Okay, so I'm the teacher on that show. So I was on set and Kendall said to me, "You don't Twitter?" And I said, "No, I don't really get it." And he's like, "Watch this." And he wrote, "At Kendall Schmidt hanging on set of Big Time Rush with at Tara Strong." And within 1 minute, it jumped to 500. So I went, "Oh, that's Twitter." Okay.
Right.
So, through Twitter, I started like, "What do you think about the bronies?" I'm like, "What's the like?" I had no idea. It's just huge. It's worldwide, and they're so sweet. Like I've got a friend of mine whose daughter has a brain tumor, and the medical community have sort of said she's done, and her dad's not giving up and trying all kinds of other treatments anywhere he can fly to, and they're broke. And the bronies have raised $19,000 for this little girl, and they're a supportive, amazing community. And I started, it started out on Twitter where I would be making fun of like the Kim Kardashians going, "Me getting ready," and like, posting pictures of themselves in the mirror. And I'd be like, "Me in a diaper," and it's Baby Dill. Or, "Me naked," and it's Timmy Turner swimming. And then there was one of My Little Pony, which went nuts. I'm like, oh my God, anything I tweet My Little Pony, they love it. It's like retweeted 800 times. It could be the silliest thing. And then one day I wrote, "I'm the T." So anyways, first when I started doing that, where it's like, it's me with another chick, and it would be an animated thing.
Right.
Me making out with another boy, don't tell my husband. And it's like Eliza with Stewie, And then I just kept going with it, and I put, "I'm the T to the WILIGHT, and ain't no other pony troll it down like me. I'm Twilightlicious." That gets retweeted a million times. Then I discovered this thing called Vocal Twit. Have you seen that? You can record a vocal thing and put it on the internet.
Oh, right.
So I go, "I'm the T to the WILIGHT, and ain't no other pony troll it down like me. I'm Twilightlicious."
And so a bunch of bronies just skeet.
They animate it.
Did they really?
It's been watched on YouTube a few 100,000 times.
Oh my God.
People are wearing t-shirts that say Twilightlicious. They're selling Twilightlicious t-shirts right now at Hot Topic. I'm like, I made that up.
That's awesome. awesome. Awesome that it's gone so far. Not awesome that you're not getting a sweet taste.
Well, I'm going to start selling some merchandise to help my friend's daughter and stuff like that. So we're going to be at BronyCon selling some of that stuff. And
when is BronyCon? There's already
like
a
10
fucking
days.
con for
Yeah,
this?
you should come.
When is it?
It's like in 10 days. It's next Friday.
Somebody sent me pictures online of Jay and Silent Bob as ponies done in the design.
Every character I've done is a pony. Like now with Lollipop Chainsaw.
What is that? Tell people
Oh
what
my God.
Lollipop Chainsaw is.
Lollipop Chainsaw is the most hilarious, demented, twisted game ever. And you see now with this, new video games have become like film.
Yeah.
And they've hired, better actors and directors and amazing stories.
It's no longer all your base belong to us.
Yeah.
They're actually there's actors playing characters there.
So Juliet is a hot cheerleader who is also a zombie hunter, and she literally takes a chainsaw like up a guy's middle and doesn't care, slices heads off. And her boyfriend was attacked by a zombie. To save his life, she chops off his head and wears it on her ass. Oh my God! It's just James Gunn is directing, and
this is a game.
It's a game.
And James Gunn is directing the game?
Yeah. And there's a lot of like little film elements to it.
Right.
In the beginning, she talks about, oh my God, my butt is so big, but my boyfriend still loves me. And it's so much fun and it's so gory and crazy. And I think if you're a gamer, like you'll just be so into it because it's so disgusting, but it's so hilarious.
It's out now?
It's out right now. And so they've ponified Juliet from Chainsaw. She's like a pony with a chainsaw and a lollipop. It's cute.
They're obviously going to another season.
Yes.
How many have they done so far? 2?
3.
I remember seeing 3.
Uh-huh.
I remember seeing 2 billboards.
Yeah.
Around town, like when they first started, and then they did the bridesmaids one.
Yeah,
after
that was
Bridesmaids.
cute. Yeah.
And I imagine they'll probably feature that up sooner or later. Like it's got so much popularity.
Oh my
sooner or
God,
later.
it's huge.
Right.
It's huge. And like I said, the fans are adorable and supportive. And I think any backlash, I remember there was this interview on Fox where these 3 guys were talking about how ridiculous it is that these men like the show. And in the interview, they admit that not one of them watched the show.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not going to go on and talk about brain surgery if I've never done it. Like they never watched an episode. And then they're saying these guys need to grow up. Okay, the Bronies is a worldwide community. There's doctors and lawyers, and there's teenagers, and there's super geniuses, and there's guys in the Navy and in the Army that watch the show.
What's the difference between liking Lost and liking that? It's just like
Right?
it's just got a fan base,
Right.
like some other, like a movie or a TV's got a fan base.
Yeah.
But because they're like, it's supposed to be a kid's show, it's like, well, if you'd watch it, you'd see that it's not a kid's show. Like Rocky and Bullwinkle wasn't a kid's
Right.
fucking show. People are idiots. I'm
Right.
sure you figured that out.
Yeah, if they're not hurting anyone, let them watch it.
See, but you're completely Canadian about it.
Yeah.
Down here, we're just like, stop them. They must be stopped. We always got to be at each other's throats about nonsense.
Yeah.
All right, we cut off the live action stuff. What else have you done live action?
Well, the most recent is the Big Time Rush.
Okay.
But my first thing out here was National Lampoon Senior Trip. It was
How
like
was
Jeremy Renner's first movie.
Oh my God. So you started with Jeremy Renner in a flick, you and him together?
Yeah.
Well, and that was, what year was that?
95, I think.
If you had a preference, in front of camera or behind camera?
I love it all. I can't. But at the same time, I'm so lucky that I fell into this niche because if I didn't, I'd be broke.
Right.
On camera stuff here and there doesn't pay the bills. But
Right.
being a regular on animated series is fantastic. And I started directing a little bit in the last couple of years, and I was holding some auditions. And it was an amazing insight to see why the people that work all the time do work all the time. Because there's a really small group of people that are just so gifted at this particular area of the arts.
I agree.
And it was funny because she said there was a woman that had come from sitcom land to do this show, and they'd wanted me to bring in on-camera Disney people for crossover purposes. And she said to me, it's weird. It seems like everybody that hugs you does really well. And I said, that's because you're asking a tap dancer to do ballet.
Right.
And some of us do both, but not all. So it's like that small little niche of amazing people. And then there's bucket loads of so-so, and then there's like a scary amount of terrible.
Right.
But the same people that I see everywhere are just, that's their gift. I remember I was doing a Rugrats episode, and one of the animators quickly, took 2 seconds to draw Baby Dill smoking a joint or a bowl or whatever he was doing, like all this crazy stuff. And it was such an amazing drawing, and he did it so fast. And I said, how do you do that? And he said, how do you do what you do? And I went, okay.
Fair enough.
Right.
My favorite story of that was one of the Wu-Tang Clan, I think it was the RZA, met Leonardo DiCaprio. And he goes, you're an actor, huh? Do it. It is kind of weird, you know what I'm saying? Like it's what you can say to somebody who draws, like, "Oh man, how do you do that?" And
Yeah.
like, well, how do you do what you do? Like they
Right.
find just as mystifying that you can
Right.
open your mouth. Look, I've been around fucking performance 20 years. I'm not even lying. She opens her mouth and change the voice comes out, and I'm like, "That's magical." What happened? Little demons inside of her. Let's do a greatest hits package real quick. Little taste to everybody. Your biggest characters. Let's go. Baby Dill.
Hey, that's mine.
That's so fucked.
Poopies.
Okay, there's not a single. I didn't press a button. There's no filter. Like that was raw, man. Oh, that was amazing. All right, do Batgirl. Do Batgirl.
Kevin, I'm really excited to be on the show.
Oh my God, that's so the voice. Do it again. I'm sorry, you got to do it a bunch more. That was it. That totally that was amazing. Go ahead, do it again. I'm gonna close my eyes.
Well, that's the one thing I can't do if I'm laughing too hard because she's pretty serious.
She is always very earnest. Be Batgirl asking Dick out on a date. Dick Grayson.
Dick, do you want to go on a date with me?
Oh my! I want to see that episode. I want to write and record that episode.
We'll pitch it.
Nobody else has to.
Happen.
They don't have to animate it, but that would be a fantastic record. That is so weird, man. All right, that's do Bubbles.
First, I thought Mojo was a nice monkey, but I kicked in his face because Bubbles is hardcore.
That's right. Bubbles was hardcore. Oh my God.
I'm just as tough as Blossom and Buttercup.
If you could see the smile, it's pushing my eyes into my forehead. It's so fucking high. All right, do the drawn together chick. What's her name?
Clara and Toot.
Okay.
So Toot is like, doesn't anybody want to fuck me? Oh, you might want to edit that for the children. And Clara was just sort of this racist princess that got to sing about black chick's tongue. It's such a new sensation. I played that song for my mom and she started to cry.
In
I'm
a
like,
good way
Are you okay?
or proud
She's
way?
like, it's so pretty. I'm like, are you listening to the words? She's like,
She's like, I identify with that song in ways you'll never understand. All right, let me see. Twilight.
Dear Princess Celestia, today I got to do a podcast with Kevin, your faithful student, Twilight Sparkle.
Oh my God. Now you for the Arkham games, you took on Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think after living with Mr. J all this time I'd be used to a little pain.
That's so damn amazing. That's a gift, man. That is a true fucking gift to have all those voices in your head and in your heart. And I think that's what it is, right? Like you can only do it as often as you do it, as well as you do it. And there's a reason you get booked and walk into a room, motherfuckers go, fuck, we lost. It's because you play it with all heart, man. You can hear it. It's like you see the little 5-year-old girl who wanted to like do this for a living come out, man. All the enthusiasm, and for as long as you've been doing it now, there's no jaded like, oh, motherfucking
not
animation.
at all. I get so excited when I book something new. I mean, even like MJ. What I tried
Rock
out.
the MJ. That's right.
I
You're
mean,
doing Spider-Man right
when
now.
I first tried out for there was a series before this one and I didn't get it. And I kept thinking, I'm MJ. I kept holding on to that. And then when I booked it this time, I was like, wow, that's so cool. And I also had recently worked with Stan on Superhero Squad. I'm the Invisible Woman and Scarlet Witch.
Okay.
So I worked with him on that. But now MJ, it's like, oh my gosh, and she's just like Peter. She's kind of just a little bit younger than me, a little bit, the
All right,
Kirsten
wait.
Dunst.
Now do Barbara Gordon talking to MJ.
Barbara Gordon wouldn't think that MJ's the coolest. I mean, she'd be okay with her. But MJ would be a little bit higher up here and want to do a story on Batgirl. And Batgirl would think that's kind of cool. And then Raven would be like, why don't y'all shut up?
Oh, man. Oh, you are a fucking treasure. There it is, man. If Batgirl had to be anything, she had to be not just a Canadian girl, a girl from Toronto. Tara Strong, you have been crushing it. Keep crushing it. Next up, the game is Harley centric. I've seen the title treatment, Harley Quinn's Revenge. So I guess you front and center and
Yeah.
whatnot. Anything else you want to hip them to look for? Or find you on Twitter. You as you
yes.
said, what's your Twitter address?
At Tara Strong,
TARA.
STRONG.
And you know what? Speaking of which, let's talk about your man real quick because we've been saying like, oh, some lucky fucker, and so, he's like, I'm the lucky fucker. Where'd you meet your man?
Well, he's a realtor now, so he'd kill me for telling you this, but he was an actor when we met. And
Okay.
we had the same voiceover agent, and he had just moved here from New York. He was born in Long Island. And he asked the receptionist who I was because he just assumed that chicks that do voiceover must be ugly. And he's like, who's that cute girl that does Rugrats? And then we met at a party a year later. And he's like, I know you. You're a Rugrat. And I said, how did you know that?
Oh, my Lord.
And
He's
he
been stalking
remembered,
you lately.
but I didn't. And it's funny that I didn't see him because he's so handsome. It's a little retarded.
Right.
So I was like, wow. And then we went out. I think on our first date, we knew we were going to get married. And we were doing like voices and silly things. And at the time I was working on, I had to impersonate Rosie Perez for something.
Okay.
So I was like, you lost all our fucking money, $700, baby. We on the way to 8,000. Like I was looking at this little Latina place.
That was pretty good, man. Holy shit, that was pretty good.
And he's like, did I teach you how to do that? I'm like, no. And he's like, I remember we were talking about what movies he liked, and he said he really liked Life is Beautiful. And I said, that was really good. And he said, well, it has special meaning to me because I'm Jewish. And I went, you're Jewish? And he goes, oh, you don't date Jewish guys? And I'm like, we're so getting married, fool. Like, so yeah.
And your parents must have loved him and that as well. And you got kids.
We have 2 kids.
Two boys?
2 boys.
Now, how old are they?
7 and 10.
So they know what you do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And how do they react? Are they...
My older one always said, the voices were dumb until he got to school. And then the kids are like, dude, your mom's Ben 10. That's cool.
I was going to... Yeah, that's a fucking huge... It was one thing to be like, my mom is Bubbles. But it's another thing to be like, my mother's Ben 10. Which is another weird thing to say, but still much cooler.
Yeah. So, no, they're really proud of me. And they grew up at Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. I would bring them as babies with a nanny, and I'd go in and do my thing. And they, it was hard for them to go to school at first because they're used to colors and crazy voiceover people coming at them and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And
then you get to school and it's just
boring
and quiet and colorless. And here's a bunch of shit you'll never use.
My little one loves everything I do. Like he's, the one that wants to marry mom. He's just like everything. We're driving through at a parking lot, and the guy goes, just go ahead. And the little one says, Mommy, how come he let you go through? And my older one goes, because she's pretty. My little one goes, you forgot so pretty.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's heart-meltingly cute, man.
And he loves everything I do. And now, they know all my shows and they watch them, but I think the funnest thing for them at this stage is when they watch Mad. So they try to guess which characters I'm like, Mom, was that you? What was that you?
Is Mad?
Mad's a new animated series.
So it's okay. So this isn't the Mad TV thing.
No.
This is just
it's based on the comic
on
book.
the actual on the Mad. I was a huge Mad magazine fan.
Me too.
So they do. Where is it? Is it on Cartoon Network or where are they putting that?
Yeah, I think it's Cartoon Network. Warner Brothers. I think so.
Maybe. And so it's just basically they're bringing Mad to life, like the lighter side of Spy versus Spy. The fuck has it aired yet?
Oh yeah, it's on all the time. And Kevin Schmidt, who is the creator writer, he's really open to we did two broke Powerpuff Girls, and I got to do Bubbles, as the Powerpuff Girl broke in, and then we did Warhorse with My Little Pony, and they did this thing where there's a big fight scene and they catch a cake, and then the cake changes and it said, how did that even happen? I said, you have to change that to Hi Bronies. So we did a Bronies shout out.
Right.
It's just, that's a really fun show to do. So for that, they like to watch it and say, were you that girl and this girl and that guy? And
it also gives you a chance to go all over the map. But it sounds like you've been able to go all over the map. Every voice you've done, there's not many there's none. There's not a single one where I'm like, well, that's even when you did Barbara Gordon and Mary Jane, you would sit there and go all right, girl, roughly the same. How different can it be? And it's fucking different. It's very distinct.
Well, I really try to do that. I don't like when they're like, can you do Timmy on this one? I'm like, no, because Timmy already lives here. So, and then I think how many 10-year-old boys can I do? I mean, that came out wrong, but you know what I mean? So, so it's like,
Timmy's like, cool, I wish Cosmo and Wanda were here.
And Ben's like, Gwen, don't be such a dweeb. And then Terrence is like, you're a loser. And then Shaolin Showdown's like, oh, let's go, Shaolin Showdown. There's always a little twist on something, so it's not exactly the same.
It's how could anyone frown around you, man? It's impossible. The moment you start rolling and shit and you start popping different voices, nuts. Well, we thank you. I thank you on behalf of the entire Bat Nation for representing Barbara Gordon so damn well and Batgirl so damn well, and even Raven so damn well. I'll jump out there for the other half of the comic book community, but every one of those characters, even Bubbles in the Powerpuff Girls, represents comic books very well. What about Huntress? When did you do Huntress as well?
I just did it.
Where?
Not that long ago.
When?
There was a great series out. We got to sing a really cool song.
Shazam. I was Shazam on that one too.
You played Shazam? What, Billy Batson? So you got to say Shazam.
Yeah.
Do it.
One time a burp came out right when I went, Shazam! And Kree's like, and I looked at him like, that wasn't very late.
Do it. Say Shazam again.
Shazam!
That's so fucked up. You sound like a little boy.
Yeah.
How does one do that? Do you just listen real closely?
Yeah, I listen a lot of times. Like if I hear something cute a little kid does, I'm like, I'm so stealing your voice.
I was going to say, you got like 2 kids that you just sit there and analyze all the time and crib from them left and right.
I love doing that.
Man, it's been so goddamn much fun talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing justice to Batgirl, if you will.
you.
And once again, man, it just charms me no end. Batgirl is from Toronto.
Yay.
You've been talking to Tara Strong, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Fat Man on Batman. Don't forget to come back and visit me next week here in the Fat Cave, kids. Same bat time, same bat channel, smodcast.com.
This has been a production of Smodcast.